You ever feel like your brain is just full? Like old thoughts are getting in the way of solving a new problem? Well, it turns out AI models can experience something pretty similar. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating new framework called Atom of Thoughts, and it just might give AI a much clearer, more focused way to think.
So let's just start with a big, simple question. What if the way we've been teaching AIs to reason is just fundamentally inefficient? What if they're carrying around a ton of mental clutter that's actually slowing them down and making them less effective?
And this slide lays out the difference perfectly. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got the typical way AIs reason. It's this tangled mess of history that they have to drag forward with every single step. But on the right, you have Atom of Thoughts, or AOT. It's clean, it's focused entirely on the present problem, and it leaves all that historical baggage behind.
Okay, so let's really break down this problem of memory overload, because it's a much bigger deal than you might think, and it's the core issue that Atom of Thoughts was designed to solve.
Think about popular methods like chain of thought. They literally have to remember their entire reasoning history just to figure out the very next step. So as the problems get more and more complex, that chain of past thoughts just gets longer and longer, and it becomes this massive weight on the system.
You don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the research paper just hits the nail on the head. The scientists behind this point out that it's not just about wasting computer power. All that historical baggage actually interferes with the AI's ability to think clearly. It's actively getting in the way. So, how do you fix something like that? Well, the inspiration for a better way actually comes from a place we all know pretty well, our own minds.
Think about it. When you cook a recipe, right? When you're chopping onions, you're focused on chopping onions. You're not mentally reciting the step about preheating the oven or what you did 5 minutes ago. You solve one small part, and then you move on to the next, now simpler problem. We just instinctively shed the baggage of tasks we've already completed.
And this super intuitive, human-like approach actually has a formal name in mathematics. It's called the Markov property. It's this really profound idea that the future depends only on the present state, not the entire long, messy path that got you here. This is the scientific backbone of Atom of Thoughts.
So how does AOT actually teach an AI to think this way? Well, it uses this really clever two-step process: decompose and contract.
Here's how it works. First, the AI decomposes a big, complicated problem into a map of smaller, interconnected questions. Then, in the contract phase, it finds the simplest questions, the ones it can answer right away, solves them, and then uses those answers to create a new, simplified version of the main problem. It's a cycle. Decompose, contract, repeat. And with each loop, the problem gets clearer and more focused.
And each one of these new, simplified problems is what the researchers call an atomic question. It's the core building block of this whole framework, a problem that's so self-contained and so clear that it can be solved without any of that messy historical context we talked about.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Let's look at the numbers.
So this table shows us the performance on a really tough reasoning benchmark called HotPod QA. The standard method, chain of thought, it gets a 67.2%. A more advanced method gets that up to 73.5%. But then look at Atom of Thoughts, a massive jump to 80.6%. That is a huge leap in performance. Let's just isolate that number for a second. A 7.1 percentage point increase over the next best thing is a real game changer in AI research. We're not talking about a tiny incremental improvement here. This is a significant breakthrough. But honestly, this chart right here is the most stunning result of all. It compares two different AI models. On the left, you've got a powerful model, O3 Mini, using a standard method, and it scores 77.2%. But look at the bar on the right. That's a smaller, less powerful model, GPT Tech 4o Mini, using Atom of Thoughts, and it scores higher, 80.6%. A smaller, more efficient model is actually outperforming a bigger one, just by thinking more clearly. And this leads us to an even bigger idea, really. Atom of Thoughts isn't just some standalone trick. It's something that could make the entire AI ecosystem smarter.
That's because AOT can basically act as a pre-processing step. It can take a really complex problem, use its decompose and contract method to simplify it down to an atomic question, and then just hand that much cleaner problem off to other AI methods. It's like a plugin that makes whatever it connects to better.
So let's just do a quick recap. What have we learned?
Atom of Thoughts is way more efficient because it drops all that historical baggage. It's inspired by the focused Markovian way that you and I naturally solve problems. And crucially, it can be used as a plugin to make the AI models we already have even smarter.
And all of this leaves us with a really big thought to chew on. You know, for years, the race in AI has been all about building bigger and more powerful models. But what if frameworks like Atom of Thoughts are showing us a different path? What if the future of AI isn't just about more raw power, but about developing more focus?